What is up, everybody? Ninja Nick here with Tactical Gaming, bringing you guys a quick Marvel Rivals video. In this one, we're going to be talking about possible predictions of, a few characters I think that might come out in Season 8 and why I might think it might be them, right? So, I only basically chose 4 characters amongst multitudes of characters that could possibly be chosen for Season 8, right? So, one of which is Cyclops. He's been talked about a lot lately since I would say season 6, right? Since the start of season 6, he's been like hinted at and talked about quite a bit. So I'm thinking he's probably going to be season 8, and if not season 8, probably season 10 along with Professor X, right? Now, granted, I'm thinking if they do add Cyclops right now, so our last, well, this season, right, season 7, we got a healer from White Fox, right, and we also got a DPS. Now, both of them technically are also somewhat DPS roles, because White Fox, if you use her in a particular way, she can be a DPS style healer, right? And then with, Black Cat, she's almost a lot like Deadpool with her like little like cat wheel that she can select with her R1 ability, depending on what you play on. But like the little ability wheel that you can select and everything, you can either go invisible, you can get like a buff, you can put down a field. There's all sorts of different things that you can do with her, right? So like she's kind of like a jack of all trades, which is also kind of funny considering that's also somewhat her ability. She throws out cards, she can see people around where they are, she can teleport to them and start just unloading on them with like a flurry of attack, right? So with the way these two characters are, we got a DPS and a healer, but basically they are very unique types of like healer slash DPS, which is why I'm thinking the next one, season 8, we might get just either straight out both characters will be Vanguard, which I don't think they'll do. I don't think they'll do that because if they do, they'll just piss off the DPS and also the healer class. Those people are just gonna be pissed off. So I don't think they'll do that. So I think what they'll do is do a Vanguard and a DPS, or DPS and Vanguard, either way. But I'm thinking Cyclops will be probably more than likely. I can see him as either a Vanguard or a DPS, but then at the same time, technically a strategist, because in a way, strategists are the ones who are like leading the pack, or like are supposed to be like generally the ones who make a plan. They're the ones who usually you want doing your call outs because they're in the back line, so they're seeing everything or should be able to see everything, right? But when it comes to it, I'm thinking Cyclops more than likely will be Vanguard because he's the leader of the X-Men, and what do tanks do? They lead the charge. So I'm thinking he's going to be some kind of Vanguard. How they're going to do it, I'm not too entirely sure, which is why I'm more of thinking they're going to still lean towards like a DPS, but a DPS that gets some kind of like damage buff, kind of like how Mr. Fantastic does, right? Except like he uses his beams or something like that as a means to like shield himself. Now the other person, right? I'm thinking. So other reason why I'm thinking Cyclops is because 8, right? If you look at it at an 8, the top of it has like, a singular eye. What is has one eye? Cyclops. So boom, Cyclops. Thinking boom, Cyclops. But Ghost Rider is another character I'm thinking because one, Ghost Rider has been talked about a lot by a whole lot of fans, right? So not too surprising that people would want Ghost Rider. I'm also thinking Ghost Rider for this because if you look at an 8, it's round like a skull, top of a skull, round. So if you think of it, look at that, it could be Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider can be in this one, especially with the new like PvE area they gave us that we're gonna have for like a little bit, not very long. I think we have like 90 some odd days left. 93 days. That it says it's a limited time event, so 93 days. So with that new event, it would make sense that they would add a character kind of like Ghost Rider, who hunts demons and goblins and ghouls and a whole bunch of other kind of like bad people and bad guys and stuff like that, right? So Ghost Rider showing up and him being either a DPS or tank makes sense. And it makes sense via which type of Ghost Rider they add. Which I did a video, a DPS Thor video, not too long ago. And this is where I'm talking about how like they can do exactly what they did with Deadpool, right? Which is where I'm thinking they might actually do this at some point with characters. Not all characters, but certain ones. And they're going to go, okay, well, with this character, so I'm going to use Thor as an example. We have Mjolnir Thor, okay? Well, the Thor in all the Marvel, like, universe nowadays, at least current, especially after Avengers, because we have, what, Blood and Thunder or whatever it was? Or Thunder, or Love and Thunder, that's what it was. So, we have that version, that skin of Thor, but he uses Mjolnir and not Stormbreaker. So I'm thinking, what if we get a version of Thor that uses Stormbreaker and he's going to be a DPS, right? And his abilities are going to be mirror image of what his abilities are, of what, like, you know, Vanguard Thor are, except it's going to be more of in the dual, like, sense, such as he's going to be more geared towards just dealing mass amounts of damage and maybe to lots of people at a time, right? And instead of, like, him coming down with a giant hammer smashing the ground, what if he does the same thing, except this time it's Stormbreaker, right? So, it's still somewhat the same abilities, still somewhat same playability, just differences. Now he's going to be a little bit more squishier, probably a little bit faster, but will still be dishing out damage like no tomorrow. And that's kind of what I mean by when it comes to, like, you know, Ghost Rider. So if they choose to do like Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider with, you know, the motorcycle, right? That could be a Vanguard style Ghost Rider. If they go for the Cloak Ghost Rider, I can't remember the dude's name, but if they go with that form, he can be a DPS Ghost Rider. I can see that. What if they decide to go with Wild West Ghost Rider? Wild West Ghost Rider could be kind of like a healer pool, and or also still be a Vanguard class. So I can see him being mainly a Vanguard or DPS class, depending on which one they do, right? So Ghost Rider, Cyclops, I can see them being some. Morbius is another character I can see as being released in Season 8, just once again primarily just because of the whole, like, you know, blood hunt ability, vampires, like, you know, Dracula, Morbius, who turned himself into a vampire in a way, but not a vampire. It would make sense to add somebody like Morbius or Ghost Rider during this event, because why not? They have Blade in the event, so why not add someone like Ghost Rider or Morbius who would make sense to be there to be killing either these, like, vampires, demons, and all that, whether it be like Ghost Rider or Morbius. And with Morbius, I can kind of see him being, like, not so much a Vanguard. I mean, I can see him being turned into a Vanguard just solely primarily due to the fact that he's a vampire, but I can see him more of as a DPS and or like a healer, and primarily because of the way his abilities would work. They would siphon blood from the enemy, and they would then be used to either strengthen and or revitalize you and your allies, right? And that goes from his basic attacks to his ults. Now, granted, his basic attacks will do like a mixture, like so. As he's doing damage to the enemy, it's gonna heal him. As he's aiming it at the allies, right, it's gonna heal them, right, but not heal him. So if he's healing his allies, he might not be healing himself. Be kind of like a drawback kind of like thing, to the point to where, like, he's not a super broken character, right? Because if they made it to the point where he heals himself also off of healing his allies while, like, giving them health, which also wouldn't make sense, because, like, he'd have to be taking health from somebody to be giving health to somebody, right? And so I can see them giving him, like, a Wanda ability to where, like, or no, maybe not even Wanda. I guess in a way a Wanda ability, except with bats, right? And then seeing them giving him an ability kind of like Rogue's, where, like, he rushes towards them, grabs them, and then siphons blood from them. And then his ultimate could also be something like where he has an area of an effect, where he draws out all these bats that just swarm an area, and it's kind of like Invisible Girl's area of effect, where, like, you're slowed from leaving because of, well, of course, the amount of bats that are surrounding you, right? So unless you use an evasive ability, kind of like Thor's lunge or Black Cat's like invisibility or whatever, right? You ain't getting out of there quick. So like I can see that, and then anyone in that field that's an ally is getting healed from it. Everyone who's an enemy in there is getting their life drained from them. Right? That'd be a badass ability. But I can see him being either a straight out healer or a straight out DPS. And him as a DPS, a good portion of his abilities will just be like healing him incrementally. Right? I can see that being a thing. And then another character I see coming would be Devil Dinosaur. And I can see him strictly just being a Vanguard, nothing else, plain and simple, just a Vanguard. And the reason why I say just Devil Dinosaur is because Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl are like teammates. I don't think what they're gonna do is make it to the point to where like you are teaming up like how Penny Parker is, right? Where it's her and the robot. It's not like that. It's like just the robot, right? So I'm thinking unless they make Moon Girl her own standalone character, I'm thinking the only time she's really going to show up is when you probably do your ultimate ability, whatever that might be, right? But I see him being more of like a rushing style tank where like his whole goal is to let's just like go forward and decimate stuff. Unless they have him as like the cute, as like a cute little baby Devil Dinosaur. And then he somehow turns into a giant Devil Dinosaur, right? Like, I'm thinking he's just going to be a big dinosaur. He's going to go and do some damage. And then maybe if they add in Moon Girl, they'll do a specific team-up ability for Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl. Kind of like how you can have Jeff ride Groot or have Rocket ride Groot kind of like thing. Something along those lines with like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur whenever they add Moon Girl, right? Now granted, they might save Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl for the same season. So if those two end up being the ones for season 8, well there you go. You have Moon Girl as one of the characters who they'll release, and then Devil Dinosaur. Now if they release Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I think they might just do Devil Dinosaur first. Might. I don't know. Depends on how they go about it. But then it'll be interesting because you're gonna have a lot of people fighting for both those characters in season 8 or whenever they release them. But yeah, those are the characters I'm thinking when it comes to it. And with Devil Dinosaur with season 8, it just kind of makes sense due to the fact that they've been talking about him a lot since Deadpool came out. And with the fact that we know like he's actually out and about and in the world, it would make sense, especially if like maybe they implement, or if we see or hear anything about Moon Girl within the next like few weeks before season 8 comes out, right? Maybe then it'll give us a good hint on if Devil Dinosaur is gonna like come into play. Because I'm pretty sure once Moon Girl gets mentioned, Devil Dinosaur is gonna come in to play for a playable character. But yeah, those are the characters I'm thinking might be season 8's like future characters. Cyclops being a strong one, Ghost Rider being a strong one, Morbius and Devil Dinosaur kind of being like I can see it, but not so much. But I still see them being characters that are gonna come to the game at some point in time, right? Like at some point in time, they're gonna bring characters like that to it. But you never know. 'Cause, I mean, they have Doctor Strange and Wanda, 2 magic users. Technically, I think they might have more than just 2 magic users. So far, when it comes to like vampire characters or whatever, they just have Blade. They don't have anyone else. So I'm pretty sure Blade is eventually going to get a character kind of much like himself, and it's going to be Morbius. And I'm pretty sure it's either going to be happening right around here soon at season 8, or whenever season 10 might be a lot sooner than October. But if a season starts coming out near October, they might release some like scary like characters, much like Ghost Rider and Morbius, for then, right? For like an October release, considering Halloween and stuff, right? But at the same time, that's an if and a maybe. But that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Make sure you guys go check out Dubby.gg and use my code TacticalGamer90 for 10% off. Dubby helps smaller creators much like myself with sponsorships and all that. gives us a little kickback for every dollar spent with the code that we give you guys to use. So go check out the comment section down below. Will be the pinned comment. Use that. I get a kickback. Helps me and my channel and my family out. Much appreciated. Let me know what y'all think of them if you do. Have a good one, guys. Later.